Yes. Our house. All right. About to get this proverbial show on the road. Don't let me. All right. So, make sure everything's good, 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 good. I think you're following. Rob, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Ralph has been at all the events since before I listed, so really appreciate that. All right, so got the three people outside, or well, I'll get started. All right. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here today. Today is a special day. We are here to be in such a beautiful space. This space is very symbolic of a lot of things that have happened between our two communities. And it has always symbolized a space where shared ideas, these shared spaces, and it's not just even this space, this is like, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but we're here in this sacred space to talk about the roadmap to a beloved community, which is the title of this event. The roadmap to a beloved community is made up of the foundation of these spaces in which our communities have shared loads of experiences and worshiped the same God. And because of this unity, which we're going to explore today, we're talking about like the temples on the the temples that are outside here, which are all flag churches. This is something that is, I mean, I don't know why it's this way, but it's this way. and I'm very happy for it. But we have to understand that these spaces were the primordial foundation of a larger beloved community that used to be in this area. And we're going to explore the many different things that have happened to this area infrastructurally. We have Ebony here, who's going to give a presentation. We have Mr. Lou Finfer, who's also here. And we have Nahi from the Boston Workers Circle also here. So we're very happy to have a very nice lineup for you today. The next time we'll be doing this, because we've done it like what, 4 times? 4 or 5. And I think we've worked out enough kinks. And the next time we do this, because I did a tour, in fact, Ralph was on it last week of Union Square. And in fact, we do have some material there, and I'll get it, once I get done, I'll pass it around. But we want to have like buses on this next time we do this. So because there's a larger community out there that a little bigger than this little quadrangle, whatever you want to call it, this area. It goes all the way down, all the way around, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing. Now, this program is part of the Boston Red Line 87 Black History Month event series. Like I said, Ralph has been with us since January 25th, which was People Before Highways Day, where 2,000 Bostonians met at Mass House to protest highways for being built, and they won in 1972. So let's give it up for them. I mean, they never built it. And in fact, that missing that part of the being that wasn't built is why this area down to Blue Avenue is still preserved in its natural state. So we're actually very happy for that as well. All right. So also Red Line, we have a lot of friends walking tours. This is the last walk-up tour. Next week we will be moving into more of a community action stage because there is zoning going on now in the city of Boston, called Squares and Streets, and without protections, any development that you do will increase the possibility of displacement, right? So there's actually actionable things we can get involved with. So next week we're having a community meeting at the Muni in Hyde Park, and then the week after that, we're having, this is actually pretty neat, we're having a symposium on health of equity for a lot of the people who are in the community, want to help in the community, but don't know how. And sometimes asking people to work long nights, unpaid nights, no thankless work for your community. Somehow, that is attractive as it sounds. So we have this healing session where we're going to do maybe some like yoga and some other little activities, and then we're going to talk, and we're advocating for a health center in Hyde Park, which is very important. But once again, it doesn't matter how good intention the development is, it's still going to add value to that community, which, just like anything else, will increase the property value. Right? We're in this disinvested environment right now, right? This disinvested environment for decades. This disinvestment actually was, I wouldn't call it disinvestment. This was going to say like you stopped investing. This was actually a pulling of investment. Because the trolley lines and the other infrastructure that used to be in this area. So this area was actually deliberately isolated for judicious reasons. That's not when we got a whole presentation. Don't let me. Y'all gotta keep me honest, because I'm running out of my mouth. And, okay, so at the end of this day, we have a screening of a documentary that I made with the African American Academy. It's called Red Line Narratives, Red Line Lost Culture of Boston. So we're doing screening. That's from like 1:30. So we'll be finished here about 1-ish, if we can keep it and everything. And there's another screening on March 1st at the Bear Symposium. So next week, all business trying to work on the drafting and bringing a lot of communities together to kind of stand against this development of racism, and then we got to that. So now, as I said, we are on a journey, right? And this journey, luckily, there's, think about when you have a big problem in life, and you have this huge problem, don't know what to do. What do you do? Call a friend. right? Somebody you trust, somebody you care about, somebody you have a relationship with. And you do this so that when you know whatever they got to know, they'll tell you the little things that you need to do for point, right? Somebody trust, right? So that is what has happened over historically in our community. Jewish community and African American community have been allies for a long period of time. In fact, it's something that you pulled up. This one, there's a little clip of what the B Brigade explicitly said that should cover it, how it pitted us against each other. Right? And luckily, for centuries now, this is Joy Street and African Norfolk Baptist Church. In the early 1900s, you can see here, the Congregation of Michigan Tefillah was at the corner of Sharman and Cass. And this is the building, right? And now it looks like this. And you can see here, the Red Mountain Survey, we grew heavily concentrated in the Road on the west side of Washington. Jewish Center here in Columbus, where a large territory with some streets showing better experiences in the background of the church. Right? So, this is where Martin Luther King met his wife. So imagine this space, this sacred space. Basically changing the world without the vision. I'm sure he would not have achieved what he achieved without his wife by his side. So this is some of the things that we do. So we've already gone a little past, so I'm going to pass it off. But I wanted, that's the reason why we're here. We're here to start this beloved, to plant and rekindle this alliance, and start this beloved community. Because a lot of things that are going on in the world today, on the way here, I was telling my friend came in earlier that I saw the news, as I was leaving, like 3 or 4 stories in a row, how DEI is being attacked. Even on Sesame Street, y'all, Big Bird is under attack. Big Bird, Grouch, I saw Maria today, I was like, oh yeah, Maria on TV. But the one thing I want you guys to realize is that you don't have, you can be at war. I mean, wait, how do I say this right? To be at war, you don't have to declare it. Somebody else has to declare war on you. That's all that matters. And you're at war. If they're attacking here, if they're going after DEI initiatives up and down, you can't celebrate, I mean, basically erasing culture. They're advocating for Gaza to be taken over by the United States of America. It sounds funny, but he has the power. He has the power to do it. And he's not, doesn't sound like they're stopping, doesn't sound like they're going to slow down. They lost the election this last January 6th would have been a bloodbath. I cannot believe that they planned to do all of this and they were just waiting 4 years. So once you realize that we're being targeted, I hope you realize that we need to put allies to fight. Because they're not coming after everyone. They're coming after specific groups that are already marginalized, or already don't have. That's what they're coming for. That's where all the funding and education and everything. So that's what we're doing today. So without further ado, I want to introduce the rest of the group and then go all over. All right, so first up, Nahi. From the Boston Workers Circle.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Nabi, I'm part of the Boston Workers Circle. The 6 of you who haven't heard of the Boston Workers Circle. Yeah, Boston Workers Circle is a secular Jewish cultural and community center. And yeah, I'm going to do a presentation a bit later. I'll talk more about like how do we fit into all this.
Right. And Ebony?
My name is Miguel. I'm the creator of Boston Urban Archive. It's a digital platform that aims to highlight the untold and underrepresented stories and histories of Boston, and something I do to try to connect generations with history.
Yeah. And then finally, Lou Finfer, and then you can take it away with the walking tour. Right next. right.
Talk about the family history of this neighborhood, Boston School segregation, busing history, to some of the current issues facing our cities.
All right. Okay. So keep on, get all your warmables, right? Get cozy, and then yeah, you can leave your stuff in here. But just make sure you take your jackets, please, because it's cold out there. All right.
Order. Huh? What's up? Yeah. Yeah. Good. That place good. Yeah. It works. And yeah, always the time, overall, you have to have the benefit of everybody. Need stuff for the. Sam! Right.
Stay all.
How's it going? We go out there. Yeah. It'd be hard. It gets some decent set. But it's still. Think it's trying to be out there. I got a experience.
So the only thing you need, have a function,
Oh, good. Okay. Yep.
So what's your name again?
Harry. Harry.
Harry, yeah. Yeah. What's your last name?
Price.
Price. Harry Price, yes. I know some Prices.
Father's Price, Mother's Davis.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my family's root name.
Yeah?
Davis, yeah.
From where? Alabama?
Well, Richmond,
South?
North Carolina, South Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Davis, yeah.
Mhm.
Davis was a big slave owner down there.
See.
So what do you do, Perry?
I'm a site director, security.
Oh,
So I work down too.
oh. Quite busy down there.
Yeah.
Lot of tourists.
Yeah. Weather switches up from here, being in Dorchester, going down there. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
more cold.
You like doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. I used to do construction. Yeah. I used to do framing. It's a big switch over.
Still use the job
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
when you own stuff.
mm-hmm. Around the house and everything. My mother retired and gave us the house. She moved to North Carolina and she never, she lived in Scranton, North Carolina.
She lives in North Carolina?
Yeah, she lives there now. She retired and moved down there. Yeah. Yeah, I kept saying that. I was like, I'm ready to move now.
And it was much more, and we had a lot more snow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, there was nothing that happened, 2 feet of snow,
Yeah.
3 feet of snow. And it would never get rid.
Once the snow hit the
So
ground,
it's here, it's there.
Right into the spring. Right into the spring, it's snow was there. So the wet climate change now.
Mm-hmm. Get it too bad now.
no, you
Yeah,
don't.
like,
It don't stay
yeah.
on. It don't stay on. I remember as a kid, the snow would freeze so hard, right? I would walk up, they would, the snow plows would push the snow up against the sidewalk. And it would be like about this high, and I would walk on.
That's how hard it be.
It's so hard. All this community around the kid was It's huge. A lot of African Americans got to do
That side, yeah.
Yeah, because when we came here, all the African Americans were from the South End side.
Yeah. And it's crazy how it switched around.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our folks are being displaced in Compton.
Pushing us out to, then pushing us out to Providence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And of course, because they need the money,
Mm-hmm.
they're selling out.
Yeah.
Selling out left and right. Once you sell out, you can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like folks can't come back. Look, we stuck. You know what the ghetto was? We can heal.
Mm. What?
You can heal. Yeah, African American, African
Yeah.
meeting house.
Mm-hmm.
That was the ghetto.
Wow.
That was the ghetto. And so then they, after they, urban renewal came and pushed us down to the south end.
Mm-hmm.
Those brownstones, you get them like for $3,000 or $4,000. Give it to them.
Mm.
They can't touch it for
Not
$4 or
yet.
$5 million.
Wow. Yeah, they're up there now. My daughter lives in the south there. The brownstones. Yeah.
Done. I was in bank for 20 years. A lot of my customers were owned a lot of those buildings, and they were. Seen money like that.
Mm-hmm. So they, yeah, take it. Till they now it's
Now
working.
they see it,
Yeah. It's rock and all up outskirts.
Yeah, so they build up a city where all the jobs and money is, and now you gotta try to work yourself back in town and try to get the good jobs.
Yeah.
Try to tell people, sell your property, sell it. If you need the money, go get your equity loan or something. Keep that property. Tell them I wrong them something. They're not listening. They don't understand.
My mother was gonna sell the house, but I was like, you might as well just move back to the house and just keep it. So I told my sister, just that's the house.
We families that even the big, state homes. We've been offered even this bill, $5 million. Well, it's gonna take a whole lot.
Take it and could start doing more.
Yeah. Let's stand put it, stand put it. If anything, we'll reverse this thing, we'll buy a box.
Yeah.
All this, they got a lot of development money. And you don't have to put it on itself. You can't get it. Got a heart.
Need people to tell.
Hey, this is good. This is good. Yeah. You say you got a daughter?
I'm 37.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
she
She's
still
just
young.
turned 16. Yeah. Yeah, when I was 21. Yeah. Yeah. I have two daughters. Youngest is 10.
You have another family.
Yeah. Man, Ebony's engaged, so we're taking it slow. We're doing it a different
Hey, I
approach.
really like it. Look,
Enjoy ourselves.
kids, gotta take it slowly.
Mhm.
Don't know if that's up to you. Give it a-
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in a relationship. So she had a real marriage. So it's just take a year. I mean, you know, the fact that we've been together for that time. She was here, you know,
Right.
that's the thing.
So you go back and forth.
Yeah.
That's good.
Trash. Trash. So, you know, let's try to start traveling. Yeah, yeah. I tell people, I said, look, you want to change mindset of on the street. Take them over there and let's. You gotta understand it go out. Yeah, yeah, they think it's bad because they don't know it. Let them go over there. First place I go to, maybe grown, saw women bathing outside. Bathing outside. Go around the water, go around the water. I'll tell you that. Look, sometimes you have one, sometimes you didn't. You get to learn how to bathe in the cup. Sometimes you have electricity. You ever travel here?
No. Hey, that's it. Jamaica.
Jamaica is pretty much like
Yeah,
that.
that's
Ladies
like
first. You have extreme rich, you got really, really good. And, we think, all this stuff, conversations and all, one percent of the all the good stuff. One place like this. This country does a lot of fucking.
Yeah.
You get a lot of pictures? You get a lot of pictures?
Yeah.
You the media person? Are you the media person? Oh, you do. Not too cold out there.
excuse. Side. Forgot something. What did I forget? I forgot what I forgot. Oh yeah, my hat. Where's my hat at? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, that's necessary. I appreciate it. I'm like, y'all don't want to go back outside. They say, no, you want to walk around and see some good. I think I'll come back and see the building. It's cold out here. All right. Henry, yeah. I'm on my head. I'm ready to go while you're not.
It's like a rugged woods. Yeah. The beds were too hard, chairs were too soft, the porridge was too. This Goldilocks wanted something tasty. Just right. First, we drove the man 25 from the rebel to pick up some dinner. Some big dinner. Heck, he took a Grand Charger deep in the woods to flex his artistic muscles. On the street. Then, completely abandoning the narrative, he fired a Grand Party show full of little joy. Time to jump a volcano. This is my street. But yeah, the bears were there. Never happened. Let's go.
Feeling healthy, release, and balance. Making a dinner that makes their whole day. And giving your best friend the best nutrients, the best fun. Science to that.
I love you for your mercies that fail all my days. I've been held in your hand from the moment that I wake up until I lay here. All I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have you know it. You are both my Lord. I know you as a no I in the goodness of God. So, so, oh, it's so, so. Oh, you will see other goodness of God. Oh, you have been faithful. Lord, you have been so. There is power
Peace. He made heat. Do you know that girl? He made heat. You ain't got to tease us, Bishop Kelly. You ain't got to tease us. Is it cold outside? Was it cold? Okay, we're gonna get a picture. Yes. It was warmer back then. I don't think it was. You're wearing a sweater. It's not. Today, I see you came prepared. Ready to talk. Everybody's like, I didn't know. I appreciate y'all for coming out here in this cold too. My goodness. All right. I got layers underneath here. Yes, I got layers underneath the t-shirt. You want to me on my whole itinerary? Yeah, of course.
Anyone, any questions about what was said or not said in this cold walking tour? Any questions, people?
So what year did African Americans move to Madison, and what year was it like Dorchester? Because Dorchester is a lot of Irish Americans as well that were kind of segregated in that area.
The northern part, north of Columbia Road. The northern part, north of Columbia Road to what's called Wall. That, by 1968, had a large scale of African Americans, but south of Columbia Road was then white. This area and the Irish area is like people. So it started to change that south of the area in 1968. And the term Dorchester is really strange because one part of the western Dorchester became down the black in that area. It wasn't all of Northwest, Savin Hill. The area they call Northwest Dorchester, where we are, Savin Hill, which is the white agricultural part. Dorchester Ocean is more north than that. It's really a racialized description. But any other questions?
Actually, I do have something to add. I saw a map where they lumped South End, and this because you told me that North Dorchester is kind of like a colloquial. It's not really like an official title. But this map had South End, Roxbury, and North Dorchester as the whole red line as a like one area for the urban renewal map. Like I just wanted to add that on that.
But it's weird because it's not a real place. It's like not like
North Dorchester is not a real thing like West Roxbury. So it just really showed me that they just said right all the time. There's no those things. So when I saw that, I was like, I'm trying to figure it out. You said that it was like an official thing. It was quiet.
Present day issues, there's obviously home prices and rents are really very extremely high in Boston and other around eastern Massachusetts. So that's a lot of pressure. People have to pay very high rents if they can't buy homes, and have to move further and further from Boston to find something that might be slightly affordable to them. So there's a big need to try to raise more money for affordable housing. So the state needs to pass a major housing bond bill this year. The government really proposed $5 billion. It's a great thing, but it's bond sometimes do what's called capital expenditures, so they have to be spent over many years. So it's not going to be $5 billion. It's not going to be all at once. And the city has different policies like inclusionary zoning, raise money for affordable housing. But the two things that we're working on, you guys question?
So with the affordable housing,
They really want you to be on the mic.
okay. So, with affordable housing, do you think affordable housing is really affordable, but is it under minimum age redlining? I think that all of the, well, personally, I think all of the affordable housing isn't really affordable, and the median income that we're basing it off of is really not including, we just should take on that, and then, how can we address that issue, especially the FHA issue that, the weekend red line started.
Affordable housing is usually defined as housing at levels that 80% of median income can afford a rental home. 80% of median income is in the 70,000s. 50% of median income is considered moderate, and then 30% below is considered lower than $40,000. So what people try who are organizing in these different situations where developments are proposed, we're trying to get commitments of a percentage of the housing below, and 30% below the same income qualifications for public housing, and some for 50%, some 50%. But because what we're saying, sometimes it's just 80% below, and say affordable housing, because they didn't have affordable homes. Sometimes they also say, workforce housing, it goes up to 100% median, 120%, which is just more unaffordable. Obviously, large percentages of people with little tax can't afford housing. But the affordable housing, you really have to get to saying, what is the income level this is expected to? What can be done to have a range of housing across those income levels? Because otherwise, it's mostly below 80% median, that range, people who are, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 dollars, not be able to avoid.
Yeah, so,
In the, when the report, in the early days, when they talked about affordable housing in any way, it was usually a pass-through ownership involved. And that's, we know how a lot of white families got built up. Is there nothing that I'm seeing is talking about you have ownership, it's rental housing at lower prices. Am I incorrect in that, or is there anything moving along?
Yes, affordable housing alliance, which I was in that. Hello? That's affordable homeownership alliance, and we negotiated an agreement with the banks for an affordable mortgage program, which is called One Mortgage, and 26,000 people have gotten homes on that since then. That UTG, and they developed a program called SNASH, First Generation of Home Ownership. And you want to never own a home, parents didn't own a home, or were foreclosed on as eligible. And they asked the person to save something like $3,000 or $4,000 over some years, and then match it, 1 month later, some foundations, and then the city Boston matches it. It's a triple match. And sometimes that's, and other things is enough to help people. But four times the number of African Americans have bought homes in Brockton in recent years as bought homes in Boston. Even though Brockton is 1/7 the size of Boston, but it's more affordable in Boston. So that's how pushing people to Brockton to get people living in so there our thing, and there is another program called Mass Housing, which is state housing agency, has a lot of new programs. 100,000 affordable homes a year. Another called Major Assistance. Has an affordable mortgage program. So there's some things, but it's limited. So the waiting list for those programs, the rental housing and section, other subsidized housing, are very, very, very low. All of them. The Worcester Housing Authority said we have 20,000 people under public housing, 22,000 people on subsidized housing. That's for rental, that's for rental. Yeah.
So for the home buying program, I think the one program is through Mama.
Yes, not. Yes.
And then, Stash, where is that?
Part of Mama. That's a program of-
Okay, that would be a very new program.
It's a new
So,
program.
Mama, teaching us no mortgage.
They still do. They still do. You get, they're.
Subsidized interest rate, no points, reduced closing costs, no mortgage insurance. It's just because prices are so high. That still doesn't get down low. Some people, but it's significant pieces of subsidy that makes it possible for some people. So.
Unfortunately, they're mostly based in Dorchester, so they only really kind of serve the Dorchester residents, unfortunately. But, you know, Boston as a whole, they don't have a program that helps homeowners, really hurts home. And Section 8 keeps people from Section 8. It's not something where residents in apartments can get home. Because once they start working, the rent will come. So unfortunately, I don't know, it's a cycle.
Right.
It's unfortunate that people, you know, African Americans can obtain wealth because of this and it's not making it better. It sounds better, but crap. What I'm trying to ask is, how can we make it better? Is there a way to make it better? Is there a way we can, like, honestly, create wealth for African Americans? Because $8 is, how can we afford a home? How can we get past the loser? If we can't even get past the income barriers that we have.
The two things that people come to the office of being, one is called the real estate transfer tax,
which would allow tax on all real estate transfers at certain levels of,
value of the property, commercial and residential. That was actually in the governor's housing bond proposal, but House Speaker stripped it out. Bond bill took that out. We filed in the legislature next month, and we will organize it, see if they can get it passed. The other major bill is a bill for local option rent control, which would allow cities and towns without rent control to put limits on rent increases, from not 60 million.
That's another thing. Those would be the two biggest pieces that could help
With this crisis right now, we can get in some cities outside of Boston, there's also a lot of, there are some programs that they've adopted, like the Community Preservation Act, CPA, that allows a small increase in property taxes and money is to be used for housing, affordable housing, historic preservation, or open space and park preservation. In most of the suburbs, and you have to use 10% of those three uses, and then the other 70%.
you need to decide what to do with it. And in the suburbs, they spend usually the minimum on housing. And that has to be changed as a result. So those are some of the examples. There's more on there,
Right. No problem. No. Just want to be respectful. Everybody, please give them a little. So thank you so much for, that long circle. Be respectful of people's time. From an hour left, and we have quite a few slides. First of all, I want to introduce Nahi from Boston Workers Circle.
So I'll be this presentation, just to keep also people's time. But yeah, I wanted to give folks who were here earlier. My name is Nahi Feinstein. I'm board member of the Boston Workers Circle and part of the Acting Immigration and Economic Justice Committee. Just worked with Marlon on this series. This is now, I think, our fourth or fifth event that we've done. But we also, in those 4 or 5 events, oftentimes, because of so much of the conversation, we actually don't really get a chance to talk about why the Workers Circle is part of this and kind of where we come from around this. So I wanted to give a brief presentation about it. So the Workers Circle was originally called the Workmen's Circle, and actually the Boston Workers Circle, Scylla, our youth process was part of changing the name to the Workers Circle from the Workmen's Circle, but originally it was called the Workmen's Circle, or the Art of the Ring in Yiddish. It was first formed in 1892 in New York, and it was largely a mutual aid society. People from across Eastern and Central Europe, Jews who were leaving and leaving from Rome and migrating to the U.S. Came to these cultural hubs and kind of formed together these societies to both to be able to share resources, but also to continue to maintain their own culture, to speak Yiddish, and to be able to have community together. And one of the other really big things that Worker Circle was part of was predating a lot of are now being questioned, a lot of these social safety nets that are now being dismantled. Worker Circle provided for its members through various different, from death, from helping people find, getting cemeteries and burial sites for people to, even people would come and actually get vaccinated at the Worker Circle. And Worker Circle would have its own insurance program, free Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. The other really major part of Worker Circle history is that we've always been an organization that has fought for labor and for workers' rights. And many of kind of the major Jewish publications that still talk about that history, Forward, Jewish Currents, they're still around today, at their start in the Worker Circle. So talk a bit more about here in Boston. At its height, there were over 700 Worker Circles across the country, and 9 of them were here in Massachusetts, in places like Chelsea, Lynn, Springfield, and other largely working class communities. Now, I was actually surprised that there's still 7 branches here in the U.S., in Detroit, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Cleveland, and a few others there. And also one that's still in Toronto, Canada. But the Worker Circle branch in Dorchester, we don't have the exact date, but it was likely founded around the time of the first Worker Circle branch in Massachusetts, in Lawrence, in 1902. But as we've been hearing from Lou, and we're going to keep talking about, Worker Circle was part of the broader Jewish exodus out of this area. Specifically in 1962, we moved to Brookline. And this actually is a picture. I don't know exactly where in Dorchester. I'm sure someone.
Right across from the zoo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like Stashes is right here. I don't know the mustaches. I eat up.
Circle, just in the 50s, we moved to Brookline, and now still moved to a different part of Brookline, but still been in Brookline for over 60 years. So in 2023, in 2023, we actually kind of get to, this kind of history has always sort of been around in the worker circle. Many of us kind of knew a little bit about it. Some people were around during this time. But we never really had a chance to actually sit down and read about it and get a chance to discuss it. So in 2023, to kind of commemorate the 61st anniversary of since the Workers' Circle had moved to Brookline, we came together and read The Death of the American Jewish Community, which some of you saw, Luke passed around, and which was an incredibly enlightening experience for many of us to get to learn about this history. And that's actually how we ended up connecting with Marlon to get to kind of learn about like what's actually still going on in these communities. I think some of us want to know about the history, but also want to know like what's the connection to now. And we also had Leah Rothstein, who's the daughter of Richard Rothstein. Many of you may have heard of his book, The Color of Law. They actually published a new book, kind of as like a sequel to The Color of Law. But yeah, we did this Learning for Action series to kind of get to think more about not only this history, but like where does our community take action next? And I just want to highlight this one other picture that I found, which is some people might see. This is Michael Dukakis, and he actually wrote a proclamation during the 75th anniversary of the Boston Workers' Circle. It's really interesting. The last thing I want to kind of touch a bit more on is sort of what were some of the dynamics that were already happening in the Jewish community at the time. We talked about some of the kind of external institutional ways that were putting pressure on the Jewish community, but some of these things were already stirring in the Jewish community since probably the 30s, 40s, and into the 50s. So by the time this really started to kind of rev up in the 60s, this was already kind of a high, the Jewish community was in some ways already in a high tension point. So to just touch on kind of a few of the factors, I mean, 68 was when this kind of started. I mean, that was only, less than a few decades after the Holocaust. And so I think a lot of Jewish communities at that time across the US were thinking about like, how do we assimilate? How do we prevent this from happening again? And especially kind of across the class spectrum, people are looking at that differently. Some people were already, leaving communities like this one to move into the suburbs and to, be more assimilated. And so that was already a conversation, oftentimes happening behind closed doors, behind the backs of certain other congregants that were already happening in many synagogues. And as a result, ended up leaving a lot of poor and working class people behind. Another piece of that was because those people were left behind, and a lot of the Jewish community wasn't really trying to figure out how to help those who were still here. What kind of came in that power vacuum was sort of a lot of right reactionary sentiment. One of which was the Jewish Defense League, which kind of came about to kind of as sort of protect the community, but often just continue to incite violence with the Black community that was coming in. And so in the end, it kind of just kept building and heightening the tension that was already there instead of trying to find ways to build dialogue and connection. Another thing that I thought was interesting to think about is, as people were leaving, many of the things that people depended on for just basic, resources were also leaving. I mean, this used to be Louisville Avenue used to have communities of kosher businesses. People walk from door to door from buy your kosher meat at one butchery, and then you go down the street to a grocer to buy your vegetables. But so many of these businesses were either completely going out of business or just getting up and leaving. And so people who needed those, who were dependent on those businesses, also just got up and left. The last thing is that it was mentioned during this presentation that an organization was probably one of the only kind of like oppositional groups that still had the Jewish, some people in the Jewish community that remained were engaged in. And as much as they tried to fight for integration and work with the Black community in Boston, it wasn't being supported by Jewish institutions who, at this time, were starting to have their interests much more aligned towards thinking about Israel instead of thinking about communities here in their own backyards. And so, as much as they tried to fight against it, just because of the lack of institutional support, it really didn't move much farther. So I just wanted to touch on a few of those things, and I know we'll have a little bit more discussion later. But yeah, just to kind of give a bit more context as to like why are we part of this work. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Sorry, real quick. This church, there was a synagogue then at that period, 68 to 71. There was a break-in in the church, and those people who did that actually set fire to the Torahs, which is just the most terrible thing you do, short of murder. And when Torahs are violated like that, you actually, a funeral service is held in there. I also want to lift up Bishop Frank Kelly, who's the host and bishop of this church. For many days, he's been working on financial services support for Black residents. And I got the privilege of working with him in a group called Great Boston Interfaith Organization. And in 1919, was born in 1996. Bishop Kelly was one of the 3 co-chairs of the organization. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you so much. That was uplifting. Messing it up. All right, so. All right, I keep on pressing the button, that's why. Like, why is it doing that? Because I'm pressing the button. Give me a second. Come on. I know, but it needs to load up already. I keep on pressing the button because I got it in my hand. Anyway, I'm about to hand it off to somebody. So, should be fine. Why are you being like this? Alright, so just give me see the slideshow. Alright, we're back in business.
All right, so next we have Ebony from Boston Urban Archive. I'm so very happy to have connected with her. It's our second time we've done the event with her. I call her one of my heroes because see, one of the blessings about this very reputation we're getting is like new generation of historians, and I think the younger you get, the more rare it gets. Very happy to have you.
Oh, yeah, you can have a clicker. Yeah, so I don't mess it up. There you go. Oh, yeah, sorry. Just next. Yeah.
Hi everyone, as you know, I introduced myself earlier, but I do have a platform called Boston Urban Archive. A lot of the things I post come long before my time, but one of my hobbies has always been, archiving, going through old newspapers, watching old documentaries, and just kind of looking at, old stories and narratives. Social media, and it has gotten really more popular. I focus on Boston history and the untold stories, underrepresented. So I added this picture, but this is me at the Celtics game, like last week getting ordered. I was always being a hero for the city for what I'm doing on social media. But I think, social media, it can be, a blessing and a to be able to embrace educational thing. So basically I'm just going to show them photos from like newspapers that I found that kind of connect the Jewish and Black community during this transitional period that has been talked about. So I like a picture like this, in particularly because this is on Plymouth Avenue. It's like Avenue East, and it's a Jewish deli. And Plymouth Avenue, what I know and what a lot of pub, go on the avenue, smell Caribbean food, hear, black music in cars, and that is what resonates to me. So to see these old images, just Jewish delis everywhere, we'll get to sort of some of the comments that people say when they look at Brooklyn. It's totally different. So the GMG, we weren't able to walk right there, but it's right up the street. I can see some picture for her. So this is what it looks like today. I'm Blue Avenue, the hardware store. That is what it was like in 1967. It was the most popular deli, Jewish deli, in this area in Boston, really. But it's where people would go, gather by the thousands, especially during political campaigns. And, it was the place to be. And it was actually known like nationally, which was surprising to me because, as someone who knows the whole avenue, I've never heard of this place. What I like is this right here is during an election. And as you can see, the parking lot is completely full. They said the street would be shut down, and that's where people would gather. There would be a V in the sky, and they would have lights that would go into the sky, and that's when you know if there were politicians here. And there's an ad down there is the grand opening. I'm glad about it. So again, like the smells and what people know. So the Yiddish Book Center, they have an oral history project. All of the videos can be found on YouTube. It's just hundreds of Jewish people from around the state that talk about their stories and some of their narratives. But a woman was talking about how she would always smell pickles. And there would be barrels of pickles outside of somewhere like the favorite on Long Avenue. Even when I was looking up this stuff on Facebook, there were just random people on Facebook talking about how they always know the smells when they come here. Let's see. Yeah, that's a clip from the newspaper. It's not Blue Hill Avenue like the 1950s, nothing is. Not even Harvard Street in Brookline can replicate the feel and the smell of what Blue Hill Avenue was. So again, kind of how we saw outside, where you could see, the Jewish stars on these Black History churches. So again, Black people sharing the same spaces, celebrating faith and love and family and community in these same synagogues. So this right here, it's members of this Black church coming out of this former synagogue. And the First Haitian Baptist Church. And this is right around the corner here on Woodrow Avenue, as we were looking up. This is also an old newspaper clip, and those are Black children fly. As we just saw, all the Jewish symbols are still on the building. It's funny too, because now that I see this, as I'm looking at old buildings, the history of what was to be, like I almost more than half the time look as a former Jewish building in this area. So this, I believe, is okay. So Alan Lupo, so he was a Boston Globe reporter, really well known, and I found this one report that he did in the Globe in 1869, and it's like a 16-page spread in the Globe, which is pretty, rare, but it was all about the Black and Jewish community in this transitional period. This was in 69, so this is right in the thick of it, really. But what he was talking about was sort of how Black people were coming to this community and how they were trying so hard to sort of blend it and, try to show the Jewish community that we are just, regular people, just trying to, come into this community with our families. And we don't want to start trouble. And what Alan Lupo noticed was, there were a lot of people who were just afraid. They didn't really know who the Black community were, and he was trying to get them to just not have this pride. So, for example, this passage at the top right, but it says, I got Negro neighbor. I've been to see some of them. You should take pride in your homes the way they fix up theirs. Who are you to say you're better than they are? Throughout the 16-page piece, there were a lot of conversations like these. Some people were afraid of the neighbors and others would observe them from afar and see how, they did really take pride in, their community, their homes, and they were trying the best that they could. At the bottom left here, it says, a black middle-aged couple comes in and sits at a corner table. They are better dressed than the others, who did not dress for dinner. The others who came to eat, to sit, to pivot. They came because it has always been some place that they could go. And again, just little passages like that just show how, a couple dress really nice, they come in, they're just trying to be a part of it. You can tell they put in extra effort to do it, and he recognized that. This is a clip from one of the restaurants where you can see a Jewish man singing the black couple vibe. So actually, like in my research, I used a ton of different databases. I really just see what's out there. I found this really cool database. It's called the Digital History of Jews in Boston, and it talks a lot about redlining, and it talks about sort of like the path that the Jewish community took in the city, and like the population, like what synagogues are in the area, and like that. And when you go onto the site, all of the circles, you just kind of hover over it, and it gives you some information. So it's a really good tool, actually. On the right is a clip from a newspaper, and it talks about sort of where the Jewish community kind of went. And again, Roxbury, as I know it, this does not sound like what it's described here, but it said, Roxbury had become Boston's largest Jewish neighborhood when the Great Exodus and Eastern European Jewry climaxed at the time of World War I. The so-called Russian Jews claimed themselves as Dorchester during the following decade, while generally longer established and more prosperous German Jews developed new sections in Brighton, Brooklyn, and that trend continued on because that's where the Jewish community ended up going once they left Japan. And these are just some demographics from the census information. As you see in 1950, it was 99, Mattapan was 99% white. And then if you look at 1990, Mattapan was 14% white. Numbers are pretty drastic. In 1960, the black community in Mattapan is 43%. In 1980, it was 70%. So you see the numbers on paper, you can drastic population. What I want to point out here is the ages as well, because there's a book that I'm passing around somewhere. It's called Jews in a Changing Neighborhood, and it sort of talks about the remaining Jewish population and how it was mostly elders. And this is more about Beaver, the Boston urban rule, and everything that was kind of touched on. I love this picture right here. This is in Mattapan in 1974. I actually recently posted this on the archive as well. But just kind of showing like the demographic shift from the Jewish community to the black. More of black and Jewish community kind of coming together, sort of like even on the street. You find, in the 60s and 70s especially, there's like a lot of black movements. So you would see, advertisements for like these black movements and then kosher ones right with them. And then in the clip right here, that is a Jewish journalist, Nat Hentoff, with a black community coming together, sort of like what we're doing today, talk about the community. So this is the book that I passed around. And again, just another tool that I use just to learn is trying to find, journalists and first-hand narratives. And Yona Ginsburg was a student at Harvard who was Jewish. And she, heard about this thriving Jewish community in Manhattan, and it was really trying to what happened. So she came here and she spoke to the Jewish people that remained, and at that time, it was mostly elders. she shouldn't speak to anyone else, like even like non-Jewish, like people here or the Black community, it was just them. So you really get an idea of, you know, how they felt and thought about everything. And what I liked and what I learned about this book is that as the young Jewish families were leaving, the elderly Jewish people kind of felt like they were stuck. This was their life. This was the only home that they knew. At that point, a lot of them couldn't necessarily afford to move out. And so as the young families left, they were kind of here. So there was a mixture and there was a lot of fear. And I think I gained a better understanding about why they were so fearful. You know, your culture, your religion, everything you know is kind of just uplifting and going, and you're stuck and you're around everything that's new. And it's like don't necessarily understand. And with the stories, the blockbusting, the scare tactics, you know, you kind of can't blame them for kind of feeling the way they felt and feeling so guarded. But then there were a lot of people too that also understood that they also moved here. They're young families. And they understood that that's exactly what the Black families were doing. Come here, parents home, give your children a better start. And that's what they did, so they understood it. And they tried. Yeah. That has a lot of difference here. And again, this is what I'm long 16-page piece. And yeah, that's kind of what I've
Have any questions, anything you want to?
I think we're fast, I just didn't want to reveal the thing stuff. Oh, it's Boston Urban Archive. It's on Instagram, yeah. We're kind of turning it into like a website and things like that, but I'm on Instagram.
Yeah. Any questions or? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I founded it. I founded it. Really, it started off as a passion project. I've always been into, you know, this sort of thing. I wanted to find people that were interested in what I was doing, so I was like, let me just start an Instagram page and post some of the cool clips and stuff that I'm finding. I had like 20 followers at first, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna keep going, and then suddenly I'm getting like millions of views on the clips that I'm posting. I was getting thousands of followers every day. Yeah, so now I think I'm at like 45,000 followers. And, on average, when I post a video, it'll get like 200,000 views. It's really nice. It's become like a digital space where people of all ages, you know, connect to videos. Some people see their own neighborhoods, their old friends, or family members. Yeah, I'll post a video and say, that's my dad, that's my grandpa. And yeah, we'll share stories and stuff. It's pretty cool. No, I don't have any exciting. I mean, what I do is, I would, you know, use, like, I find libraries that I go to UMass Boston, I recently graduated too, so I have access to their library and archives. So I'm going to use like what I can get, and then my own personal library for everyone. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
I really appreciate you. I really feel like I did my idea. I really, I found the site, I started reaching out there, like, oh, man,
what's this? And, you know, the word just speaks for itself. It really does touch after the word, you know, like this, the 80s and the 70s. So these people, like my generation, we grew up in the aftermath of urban renewal. So we're the first generation that did not have the communities that my mom loved. Right? Instead, we were replaced infrastructurally with how would you say, with civic institutions. Right? Now, before I get to my thing, I'm going to get us a break and this is not to anyone. So, anybody, let's really take 5 minutes so people can gather out and eat, and I know we haven't been there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I was about to get into it. Do that right after the coming in from the
From
from the cools.
Coming in from the cool. Wow, you're learning the whole thing. I used to not from the West End.
Stop. Yeah, you are going to Because it's a whole city, so like when you take the same system and put it on the whole city.
Yeah. Jamaica Plain is just the red shoe. It's just a little.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's okay. What's this? This.
I thought you. I know. Primary. Sorting it, I know a lot of people, God, there's, yeah. But I was just working there 18 years. One of the only old one now. It's not. Stay. Oh, you heard about that one.
there as well. But. Well, there's a little dispute because, yeah, I think it is. But, so I work there one day a week. It's such a great thing. But. It's always very complicated, you know. But, yeah. But I have to say, we've dropped a lot of people. It's become very Vietnamese, of course, as you know. And that I'm very happy about. But, you know, the Irish stuff, which is, yeah. Yeah. That's been forever, yeah. Well, we only 5 years ago, I think had some people been one of the founding mothers across the street. We loved them, you know, they were the great ladies, you know. But I think they might have been one of their. I did born. Yeah. I feel like maybe they had those places were big. But there's no way they suppose. I'm good. I tried to get here. Oh, yeah. But, as you get back, anybody who it's hot. Which doesn't make sense. The only ones who seem to be like using any of this. No, it's the same. Were you there? Yeah. Nobody heard about it. And now I just got an announcement about it on Monday.
What time is it? Oh, jeez.
Strangely enough. Oh, you like for
He's like always like standing up.
Just wait.
Everything goes out the window.
Everything.
Don't care about that at all. Maybe like freaking like no, Don is fun. It's similar as like he was just like in this like
Don is so kind.
We're supposed to wrap up pretty soon, so.
All right, so let me just get started reminding out. All right.
So I'm gonna try and wrap this up, and I have, hello everyone, all right. So, we're gonna try and wrap this up real quick because we are actually at the time that we're supposed to be ending. I do have my documentary screening at 1:30, so if you'd like to stay for that, then, just hang on around. But I'm trying to make sure I get done before then. Also, I didn't mention the Rise Above Redlining portrait over here. And basically, I have taken this around. Some of you that were with me last week, we add words to this traveling work of art over there. And so we've gone around. This probably represents close to now, I keep on saying like 212, close to about 400 people contributed to these words. Now, actually, there are like a bunch of words that are not on there yet. Solidarity, understanding. Last week they put in legacy, empathy, rebirth. Anyway, there are a bunch. If you tell me, what I want is that as we're doing this, you guys can start thinking of some words to add to this, so we could have you guys' voice on the portrait. That'd be great. So I'm going to quickly run through this, like I said, real quick. Marlon Solomon, and I'm kind of like the civil engineer that is really working to study the intersection between infrastructure and culture, which are cultural hubs, right? Like Chinatown or the North End. So one of the things that people tend to look at is how they don't realize how systemic. Hold on, I gotta record myself. All right, so how systemic the redlining and urban renewal was. This was not an isolated thing. Every red dot you see represents an African American community, most likely level to the ground. We have the Green Book that I've been passing around, right? The Green Book, basically all the red spots are in this, and that Green Book, of course, if you don't know, that's the second most important book to African Americans after the Bible. Why? Because it showed where the safe spaces were during the segregation days. Yeah, the books. That's true. I could use them. They come with extra ones, so you can leave them right there. So, how systemic this was, okay? And these are not all of them. These are just the ones that are covered by the University of Richmond project that did this. All the yellow spaces represent communities like the one we're in, right? Of places that predicted decline. So I'm going to go over a little. Well, redlining, green is the best. Blue is still desirable. So this is kind of like Milton area, closest to here. Milton. And then definitely declining, hazardous. So I'm going to go over some of the redlining myths because, see, like the words urban renewal sounds very good, right? Sounds very nice. Urban renewal. Everybody wants their urban to be renewed. It's something that we do. But if you look here, the green and blue areas are not in the city of Boston. So you have most of your red and your yellow areas being what consists of what we call today Boston. Is Brookline and Milton. Those are your green areas. These are your Brahmin elites, the descendants of the Quincy Adams and so forth in Coolidge Corner. I don't know if that's how they say it, but Coolidge Corner. Right? And then, so these are all these areas, and the adjacent areas are over here. All right, so one of the things, redlining has been conflated, the term redlining is conflated with housing discrimination, right? But that's just like the Civil War was because of state rights. Exact same concept. The actual issue, this is a tool used by multiple government entities, from the blockbusting and the realtors to the banks and your Department of Planning. So before you can discriminate against housing, we need to know where we're going to build the housing. And if there are people that unfortunately happen to be in the way, we have to get them out. So the housing discrimination is way after we've developed the property, way after we've identified where we're going to develop. Way after. I mean, this we want to develop. So like a lot of the new things that come into this community now is because they're planning 10 years down the line for this place to be much wider. You say, how do I know that? Oh, well, I will look at the data behind bike lanes and know that my people don't like bikes. It's too cold. We don't ride bikes, so who is that for? Who you spending all that millions of dollars to fix? Who's that for? Because it's not for nobody. We didn't go and put a budget together, do the design, pay the engineers, go through all of that, simply because we want to hope that if we put bike lanes, black people will automatically start riding bikes. That can't be the science. That's not measurable outcomes. Then anyway, so it represents, so it's a tool. And even the zip codes were implemented so anything on this code, right, if you develop this land, all the development on top of it is based on it. So even the zip codes, are based on after they removed certain people from here, kept certain people in other places. So the design of our cities are based on race, which by definition is unconstitutional. All right? So it predicts disinvestment. So if you know this place is red, I'm not going to invest there. So it's kind of like a circular argument, right? On one hand, it's saying, well, this area is red, but it's also by saying it that this area is going to go down. Provided data that informed urban planners to make drastic infrastructural changes and invest segregation into our cities. So what does that look like? That looks like the removal of trolleys. So when they say disinvestment in areas, they're not talking about what kind of disinvestment. How do you disinvest into a community? You remove property, you remove infrastructure, T-stops. You put in T-stops, what happens to the property value? It goes up. You take out T-stops, oh, you think it stays there? No, it goes down. And that's how this works. So once they take out Blue Hill Ave connecting, I'm going to show you that a little later. But right now, let's see what else did I think I didn't miss anything else. Okay, yeah. So this is the underlying survey, and this is what really matters. The color coded is kind of like redlining for dummies. All right, you know those books. We use a lot of them. But anyway, so this is just like so that the banks, because what they would do is that they would say, city, where are your blighted places? Where are your places that are terrible that you need fixing? And then the banks would go and say, okay, well, this area and this area. They would take pictures and make sure that some of the places like the West End weren't even eligible. They had to make them eligible, which means we're not going to pick up the trash. We're not going to send out the normal, bus drivers and different things to clean stuff up. So after some months, the place looks horrible. And then we come in with our pictures and go snap, 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 snap. See, blighted. We need this urban renewed. So this is the real information. So what did they want to know? They wanted to know whether, what kind of people live there, whether there were Negroes in the vicinity, whether there was foreign-born families. What does that have to do with development? Not much. Now what does that have to do with housing discrimination? Oh, now we know where the cultural hubs are. We now know where they are. The first thing in real estate is location. Second thing is location. Third thing is location. It's also the same thing in any military campaign. You have to know where your enemy is located. So that's what this map does. It tells you who lives there, how much they make, and some little peculiar things. So about the Jewish community, so this area has been predominantly Jewish for several years. Market is now limited to this buyer. Mortgage funds are limited because of the occupants. What does that mean? It means that they own their own houses, so there's no mortgage business. Not that there's no houses there, but I can't make no money off of interest rates. That's what this means. But the financing, no problem on sales, meaning that they got good credit. Very interesting the way but that's what this is. So this is the real thing. So you can see this is not about housing discrimination. This is about identifying who lives where and what they do. All right, so I can know where I'm going to develop. So we talked about the Beaver area. This is what it looks like. Okay, this red, I don't know why is it red. I thought I made a different color. Okay, anyway, you can see this red little funny outline, looking like some kind of like sea ray or something. This is the Beaver area. And I superimposed it on a trolley map to show you how all this area has been devoid of, and these red lines, these smaller ones, these are trolley lines. And this is only from one company. Different companies have different lines. But the blue are the elevated rail, okay? And this is that. So now you can see all these little stops, that's Dudley. Union Square, that's why I got so many. You can tell the places that have gotten a lot of action from the amount of numbers. And some of the numbers are the same, like this is the 31 and the 32. Still go down that route. They just changed it from trolley to bus, the lines. Okay? So one of the, so if you wanted to look, this is Dudley, so this is Warren, goes down this Grove Hall. This is our beloved Blue Hill Avenue, this is Talbot. But one of the things that happened is that when the time to remove this, now there's no cross transportation. I can't go from Mattapan to Rosendale Square down Cummings anymore. If I want to take the train anyway, I gotta go all the way around from Ashmont. And that trolley exactly stayed. And another beautiful fact is that the trolleys remained in all the green areas. Milton and Brookline had all the green areas. So this somehow it's not good for this community, for some reason. Okay? So this is I'm not going to go into this, but the Boston Neck, this is why, that's for the Roxbury people. That's why this area is so important, but we'll get into a little bit later. All right? So this is what we call the Boston Wishbone. And the Boston Wishbone, right, has to do with, this is the natural flow of Boston, okay? So Boston goes down Washington Street, gets to Nubian Square, divides into two. One goes to Forest Hills, the other one comes down Warren, Blue Hill Ave, down the way to Mattapan. That is how the southern neighborhoods of Boston are fed infrastructurally, with revenue, business. Without that, you're not connected to the heart of the city. Okay? So, this is also the blue, this is also a little illustration of the Beeburg area. And the thing about this is that, and that's why I call it yellow lining. I've been talking to, I actually think that yellow lining is another term. Because it's like a subtler form of redlining, but it's not based on class, because a lot of the community here, they own their homes. They were already like strong knit communities, right? That have been here for generations. So you need other tactics. You gotta first identify the area and cordon it off. No in and out. That's what exists when you take out the trolleys. After they take out the trolleys, now your businesses are depressed. There's not enough business coming around. Franklin Park Zoo, the largest of all the historical landmarks in Boston, with a zoo, with a golf course. Sounds like a tourist attraction to me, but there's no way to get there on the T. No appreciable parking in this area for businesses to enjoy. Parking is part of access, so I don't put any parking. How many times you guys didn't go downtown because there's no parking? Parking is access. It's not optional. If you don't have parking, nobody's going to come to your business. Or if I change the parking in your area, so maybe your business is supposed to be from like 9 to 10, that's when the most people come, but I say nobody can park there between 9 and 10. Come at, I give you a 2-hour session, or maybe an African braiding store. You need 8 hours to do parking an African braiding store. Can't do it in 2 hours. You'll be coming back every day, like doing a quarter a day, quarter the next day. So that's what this area had racial confidence around it. All right? Not all explicit, not all in every location, but the idea is that if these areas are homogeneously like white, then their property values stay up, forming a sort of economic wall around this area that's artificially depressed and disinvested from. Make sense? So, I'll tell you one of the most amazing things. I didn't really have too much of it on here, but the most amazing thing, when you leave here, just go down Blue Hill Ave, because there's an amazing thing. See, you can't fight the powers of the Almighty. Why? Because there's a river called the Neponset that actually divides these yellow and green areas. And what that means is that no more is the redlining a subject to man's devices and what he develops here. There is a river there that's not going anywhere. And it has kept the redlining above this line. Where here they have, I think the lowest life expectancy is 77 years, while right across here is 83 years. Literally, we need to test the water. What's in the water? Because it's keeping the problems on one side of the city. We got to go and do some real testing. All right? And this is right down the street. You can go there. It's a literally 1 minute walk to go from poverty to riches, not middle. Talking about Mercedes Benzes and Stills. Okay? Literally, because the literal bridge, the water has kept, it's not fluctuating with, okay, design work, whatever. Are you going to build on the water? All right? So there's, like I said, a lot of racial covenants keep the property values up high around here. Meanwhile, this is the only place, as Lou said, that black people could buy. Then, when the black people moved here, the people that were here moved out, further valuing the property values. And then once you don't create an opportunity, and there's no economic areas in this place, so how do the people have to make money? People have to eat. If there's scarcity, they will steal. So all these issues are they're just basically taking the water out from a farm. And then you're saying, why isn't the grass growing? And then trying to put fertilizer, trying to put sunlight, trying to put everything, but they're not putting any water. And the water are the pipes, the trolley lines. So this is some of the old community. All right? I love this. I love this picture because you can see the back end while this over here is gone. So you can see that what it was in the postcard. These are some other ones. I actually have some new ones that I wanted to show, but I didn't get a chance to put them on there. This is Seaver Street, this trolley line. So this is like the big temple is over here, and then this is like Franklin Park Zoo. All right. This is good old Blue Hill Ave, so that's there. This is also Blue Hill Ave with the tracks. This is Columbia Road, and you can see a trolley there. I know these are pretty bad, but this is the movie theater right across from Franklin Park Zoo, where BWC office was probably like right there. But these are trolley lines, and that's Columbia Road. All right. All the way down. That's what I'm just showing you. Look, this is Blue Hill Ave, all the way down.
Everything that's a bus now was.
Everything that was a bus was a trolley. Look, so this is the map again. Well, some of them, but yes. Some numbers, so the 32 was the 32. It will go down to Walcott. Sometimes when you see some of these weird little, so if you guys have been down to Walcott, you know that, that little area that looks like a little roundabout in front of the business and the gas station down there? That's where the trolley would turn around and come back up. So there are a lot of little places like that all around Boston, but this is, you could go from Mattapan to Rosendale Square down Cummings. You could go from Mattapan to Cleary Square down River Street. That's the River Street. That's it right here. And that's how easy it was to get around. That's why I always say that Boston was more equitable back then, transportation-wise. So this is Blue Hill Ave, and this is the wall that we all recognize. Franklin Park Zoo Wall. This is to illustrate the Blueberg area, and you can see here, There is some cross over here, but if you remember the green line map, this kind of is the green area, like Brown Jamaica Plain, Longwood area. And they promised us a train, which was supposed to be the Silver Line, but it never came about. We got a very fancy looking bus that really goes to the airport. And see, one of the things, transportation is not equally distributed, right? I'm gonna just name some transportation devices, and I want you to think of the what you consider to be the ridership, okay? So first say commuter rail, right? You got something in your mind. You don't have to say it. You got something in your mind, all right? What's the next one? The T. This is a normal train, like the red line, orange line, okay? That's somebody else in your mind. All right? A little more general, maybe more widespread, but you got something else in your mind. All right? Buses. All right? Free 28. Right. The Free 28, for those who don't know, is the free bus that goes from Ruggles down to Blue Hill. So it's a free bus. All right? Duck boats. That's tourism transportation. It's extremely important to the vibrancy of all these cultural hubs. It's not a joke. In fact, it's the most important, because we're looking for money outside to come into our community to fund our businesses. So not having the biggest tourist attraction in Boston being used is part of the anti-Semitic, racist design of this city that pushed over 60,000 people out of this community, turning this community 90% white to 90% black in 4 years. Not 4 years. So the last time we had a presidential election, seems like 4 years. That's a bad one. It's not like a long time ago. But anyway, and all these are demographics, and this happens all across. Children 0 to 17 years old, right, are mostly along Blue Hill Ave, and there's no GT. And this is their map. This is not my map. This is their map. All right. So most of the kids of color live here. So I found that demographics show that once you have people cordoned off, certain metrics start showing up: lower life expectancy, more kids to adult ratio. Because the parents ain't living that long. So now, why is this happening here? What is keeping? I already told you about the southern border that is in Neponset that keeps the redlining out of Milton. Like I said, whatever they're putting in the water. Somebody's going to check Milton, ask them what they're putting in that water. We need some of that because it's keeping things away. Right? That water is keeping all the poverty in Mattapan and not touching Milton at all. And the reason why it's actually spreading, just like urban sprawl is called redline sprawl, my term. And then the reason why is because you see, once you have communities of color, it seems as if certain types of infrastructure seem to always follow this group, no matter what they do. Check cashing, you just don't know how. It just follows you. You just, fast food, oh my God, it's just there. Boom, 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 boom. But the North End has no fast food. How did they do this? Is it a miracle? Private enterprise decided that the boomingest place in Boston as far as tourism is concerned, and there's no fast food that wants to get a piece of that action? But my community that has struggling restaurants that need to be able to get money, they're not buying meat by the ton. They have to compete with $1 and $2 menus because in our community, fast food is in there 2 to 3 more times more than other communities. Then you say, well, what about the food desert? Same thing. Lack of healthy food. Then if you compare the sizes of the Wegsmans versus the, we got Stop and Shop? All right. If you compare the two, it's like you can fit 3 of the ones in our community in one of the things. So it's not even pound for pound. And the reason why this is happening is because this highway was canceled. So as I told you earlier, the highways were canceled, so all this area, the Blue Hills of Mattapan, were preserved. There was a highway that was supposed to start here at Westfield and Cagman, by Wegmans. By Wegmans, supposed to start by Wegmans.
And then it was supposed to go up from the Ponset through Reedville, Hyde Park, go through Rosendale, and go and hit up at Back Bay and I-90. Those that came on my tour last week at the Roxbury tour. This is what happened. So if this was built, imagine the economic pressure. Because it's a highway, it's I-95, you get up on there 3 hours down the road, you're in New York City. You only get on the map, there was supposed to be an exit at West Street. Y'all know where West Street is in Hyde Park? Yeah, that was the down ramp. So you were just been popping up there in the Hyde Park, popping up and going back to the Back Bay, 5 minutes. All right? So when this wasn't built, so imagine like what happened here to Chinatown with like the ink block area. That's what would have been over this side because you would have had I-95. Okay? If you've ever been down there, they've actually built it. They just never continued it. This is concrete. That's why it exists. You can see it through the air now. It's been built. I've been down there. My car happened to break down. Right on there. So I had my camera and I just happened to take a lot of pictures. But nonetheless, I went down there. So when you go, this is like you go to the Foxborough, to Walpole. This is like, and it's supposed to go into, but it never got built. Then on this side, by like Bunker Hill Community College, right? There's a ramp to nowhere that leads left. Actually, that's supposed to go to Roxbury. Okay? So these canceled highways, them not being there, made it so that there's no economic pressure on this area, and the red line position, the red line institutions start moseying down, coming down this way. So I would say foundational African Americans, more in Roxbury. So you move down and start getting Cape Verdean, my brothers, the Vietnamese, my brothers, the Haitians, my brothers, all. That's Little Haiti right down there in Mattapan. They should change the sign from Mattapan to Little Haiti. Because that's what it's going to be. There are more restaurants down there and all this. And when you look at this whole thing, this is what they want to do. Oh, sorry. Didn't that come up? Is it not playing? Oh, I don't have it done right. Let's see if I can. Well, there's supposed to be a video. Come on now. Act right. There you go. Touch screen. So this is the video of what they plan to do to Blue Hill Avenue. Right? Now, I mean, looks great. Infrastructure development, they're going to put the BRT buses here. Oh man, they know they got them bike lanes, boy. They need them. They was like, but this is what they're trying to do in certain terms, is to reconnect the wishbone. But they're not reconnecting all of it at once, and I don't know if they're going to do this last bit. But let's say this is the former Orange Line going from Washington down Eagleson Square, the elevated rail. This is the new route. This is Roxbury Crossing. All right? This is by where it turns into trolley for Warren all the way down to Blue Hill Ave. This is where they are proposing to do their upgrade. So as you can see, it still doesn't do the trick. But White Stadium will soon be here on that side. And then once they put that White Stadium and turn it to what it is, it's just going to slowly make this other side very expensive. That's how you do it, actually. Remember, I'm a planner. I'm not thinking about 2 years. When they built this place, what year did they build it? You guys know? I don't know, 1900-something, whatever. But this place has been built over 100 years ago. When they built it, did they think that we're going to be sitting here like this today? No. So when they're thinking and planning these things out, I'm planning 10 years. Before I get from design to even where I'm going to the government to ask them for approvals, that takes years. Before they actually get it on break ground, it can be 3-4 years before you even start the project. Not to mention finishing it. It can be 5, 7, 8 years. And that's just for one. So you think you're going to spend 7, 8 years to now build something for up to 100 years? No. So we have to understand that this design
without protections for the communities that are here is just, you're just displacing people in slow-mo. In slow. That's all it is. So we need to understand that while we're advocating for these communities, because we do need an investment. This place is artificially hollowed out of investment, right? Even the investment that was here was removed. So now you have this issue where even if I put a little bit of investment, it's going to have like a big effect, right? You know, it's not going to be. That's what the White Stadium is. There's the Loop. There's a building called the Loop down by Mattapan. It's part of this affordable housing. First of all, that affordable housing, as they already said, AMI is dubious at best. But out of 10 units, only 2 of them are affordable. So out of all this, you're still getting 80% that are market rate in these new investments. So out of that, the 2 can be up to $90,000 worth, and that's affordable. That's facts. Go read it. So we have, like I said, next week, this is the last walking tour of the Boston Red Line 87. Next week, we now move into community work, right? So like you'll have an opportunity to try and make change in our community. So it's not just about talking about it and learning about the history. How do we make change? So we have, next week we're having a development meeting. We're asking people from all across the city to come, and we're working on these 5 areas. I watched a hearing by Julia Mejia on this issue of displacement, and they had these, and I looked at the whole video from all the people talking, and we kind of barred them down to these 5 demands. Pause all zoning efforts, right? So we're trying to insist on a moratorium that they shouldn't rezone the areas until the anti-displacement policies are in place, not before. I mean, you know, you can't do the thing. You can't rezone and then people are displaced. So we have to have protections in our community beforehand. Community outreach and education. I've heard of opportunities where they had Latino community and they tried to entice them out with hot dogs. I said, oh no, it's not gonna work. We don't like processed food. But this is one of the things that happen. Success metrics. If you ask them, the BPDA, how many houses are they trying to, how many affordable housing units are they trying to build? Actually, one of the superstars of Lori, who's really big at this, they don't have any success metrics, so there's no way. Okay, you're saying you're doing community engagement. How many people have you engaged? They don't have anything. Lori's from Laura Rosendale Coalition. They have like 80% of people are white on their survey, but meanwhile it's kind of like the flip reverse. Like 70–80% of the community is actually community of culture. So it's this, even who they're talking to, they're using like complicated programs, and you know, like it's, if you're technologically challenged, they can't talk. So they're not talking to anybody but people that know how to fill out the Google form. And that already filters out a lot of people who are working 70–80 hours a week in order to feed their families and stay in place. Address the affordability crisis. We talked about this with the more community area income, not AMI metrics. And then also commit to community collaboration. A lot of the issues that are happening is because you have a lot of people from other communities trying to work stuff in our communities, and they don't know what's going on. They just don't know. So instead for them I don't know why the BPDA that's in charge of literally these community development forever, why don't they have satellite offices in each neighborhood? Sounds quite like, so we can talk to you and like know who you are. But not when every time you want to bring up a new initiative, you pop in with pop-ups and pop-ins and pop-outs, and I don't know, they're popping something. And they keep on doing this, and our communities are not getting the message. They're not coming. It's literally the same group of people, you know, in these meetings all the time. So those are our 5 things. So we're going to have discussion forums. We're going to, I have like I didn't, actually, I should have put one on there, but I have a lot of like drone pictures of like what the buildings actually look like. Cause they'll come and say, hey, we're gonna put S1, S2, S3. Nobody knows what that is. Even I even forget. Right, but S1 means like 12 stories, then S2 means like 5 stories. Like there's things involved. And they're not trying to talk in the language, they're not meeting people where they are, they're coming with these technocratic, language. So we're gonna do a lot of that next week, show other communities what our mapping sessions look like, and learn from other communities, because there are different skill sets in these group of people that are slaving away, looking at zoning codes, Article 80, yada, yada, yada. I had to run away, so I'm gonna be doing that because I go on to do the engineering part. But, so that's what we'll be doing next week. Then the following week, this is actually very special to me because it's called the Health of Equity. Now, a lot of us that do this work know that it's laborious, it's hard, we're snapping on each other. Stop talking to me! It's all kinds of stuff going on in these meetings because we're meeting late at night, no pay, no this, no that. Nobody wants it. We're doing it out of labors of love, but at the end of the day, we are human. And I realized that if we were a corporation, we would have some kind of support mechanisms to help us. I mean, even just with a simple thank you. You'll be surprised. You can go in months and be doing this work for months, advocating, trying to reach out. I know Lori in particular goes out there on cold days, on flyers. She literally goes and asks, she did a survey, went to the food pantries, asking the communities of culture. In fact, we need to give her a round of applause. Please give her a round of applause. Yeah. No, she goes out to communities where people cannot barely speak the language or anything like that and tries to ask, have you heard of Squares and Streets? Have you heard of Squares and Streets? Have you heard of Squares and Streets? Because this is going to mess up your community here very soon. All that in Washington area in between Adams, Rosendale Square, and Forest Hills, you can just kiss them bye-bye. Kiss them bye-bye. There's nothing. Well, it is, but you have to connect it to Forest Hills. So that means that all around there, they're going to put in mixed use. There are going to be businesses instead of family homes in between. That makes sense, right? But all around that Healy Field, all that is going to be more expensive now. There's no way around it. You cannot, think of it as a house. If I put on an extra porch or put on an extra room, right? What does that do to your assessment? That's what I mean, just on the community level, that's what we're talking about, but it doesn't change the basic principles. If you invest in your property value will raise. And if the property value raises, I'm not going to chop it myself because I'm a capitalist and I must hand it up to you. The guy that needs to buy needs a place to live. So we're going to be doing healing sessions. It will be hopefully yoga. I'm looking for massage. People have been asking for massage, but people don't want to do massage for cheap. I'm like, man, come on, man, the community needs it. But the idea I want to take care. I think we need to create spaces for these tough conversations. We need to create space to heal the people that are advocating for our communities, because if they don't make it, I'm sorry, nobody has a chance. And that's the truth. Because there's nobody out here doing this work. We have two groups in this one group, that one meets on Sunday, one meets on Wednesday. One is advocacy, one is technical. The one that meets on Wednesday is technical, so they go through this actual zoning code. These are volunteers, people just working for the people people don't even care, people don't even show up, they're busy, they're this and that, we get it. But that's what this is about. So we have two events, please sign up, please come. And what time is it? But I want to just give everybody a hand of applause for coming out today and welcoming us. Like I said, this tour, the roadmap to Beloved Community is going to be on buses, on wheels next. I promise. I speak it into existence. Get me now. Come on now. All right. Get some help. So thank you so much. And like I said, I'm here to take any questions, and we'll be doing my documentary screening. And anybody's welcome to attend. Thank you. How bad did I do? What time is it? How bad did I do? 1:34. Okay. Well, we're supposed to be at 1. Well.
Is anyone driving in Brookline or right? They have been archived somewhere for so, but I think, you know, but I have some of the poetry up there that I wrote that was good. So I'll send it to them. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that. So you can change the music.
So she's gonna give you a ride.
Huh?
Great.
Yeah,
Oh, wait. I need some words. I need some words to add to the portrait. Y'all not gonna get away. I just thought you to think of some words. Oh. No, we already have community. I'm gonna tell you the ones that already. Any other words y'all wanna add? Come on, y'all. Don't leave without adding a word. Hey, geez. Unity's already one of them. No, it's okay. Keep it coming. Anything together that have more words in it. Unity, is the unity's already there. Understanding. No, there's some that are on there from another workshop, but understanding, I think unity is not there.
Okay.
So I'll add unity. No, I'll add unity. I don't think unity is there. Community is there. Legacy is there. Rebirth. Understanding. I can get one more word. Kindness. All right. So kindness and unity. Kindness and unity are your words. We appreciate y'all for coming out. God bless you. But I'm going to show the documentary. Let me just. I gotta turn this on. Really well.
Exactly, we heard about the GMG.
my ex-husband.
Yeah.
So and he was they had because they weren't doing it. They were like looking at the but it turns out we were not. No, he was good.
Want to do an interview of our group?
Oh, hi. Hi, Elijah. Oh. They didn't put inside of their lives. You know, I brush my hair.
That is how I
All right.
was here was to show the historical aspect, connecting to our own family story, but also a big part of why we go and give out what's going on now.
Yeah, we'd like to know more.
I knew some, but I don't know a lot. I've always heard of the Green Book, but I never actually looked at it, held a copy, and thought of what it meant. That had to be
We were talking about the fact that we put in another community that
it's unenforced.
developed in Somerville. We all have a few friends. We were talking about the same thing.
We understand the issues and we've seen it happen. And we're like, hoping you very, very strong in your voice on from happening. You're the metrics, aren't you? That was great, it was 9. Yeah, 9.
Yeah. I wish it hadn't been so cold.
Oh!
Yeah, if we could do something about that, that would really be great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you're working with Marlon?
Yes, I'm gonna run up with the spring system.
Oh, you are?
White matters and culture and we will talk about the breed. Alright, so I'm about to do this.
A lot of stuff out there.
I know.
Thank you so much for doing
It's hard to like go off.
Oh my God.
Excuse me. Let me see. I have people I'm thankful. All right, give me a second. I'm about to put it on.
Yeah.